Me and Mr. M by Steve Spencer. This trip was a very unique experience. I was hired to work as a bodyguard for Valentino the Masked Magician, known in Brazil as Mr. M. He had the highest-rated TV show on Fox when he revealed the secrets of magic. We arrived in Rio. 2 hours after we land, there is a press conference with 50 journalists. It was a media circus with cameras flashing and the press asking him very provocative questions about his magic show and personal life. Things like, are you married? Do you have children? Later that night we went to the Zuxa show to promote the Mr.M Brazil tour. As we arrive at the Globo studios in the stretch limo, I realize how big this really is. The Muvuca, a whole bunch of people goes crazy. They start flinging themselves on top of the limo, yelling, screaming, trying to open the car doors, and this is only the second day. A phalanx of 50 security guards escorts us in and out of the studio. Mr. M's time on the Zuxa show was magic. They danced together and he revealed his face to her on stage. After the press, the Fofoca gossip started. What's up with Mr. M and Zuxa? Everyone wanted to know. The next day Mr. M took a helicopter ride over the beautiful city of Rio. Sugarloaf, Maracana, Corcovado were landmarks he said he would never forget. For those who have never been there, Rio is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. After the helicopter ride, we had a police-escorted motorcade down Ipanema and Copacabana beaches. The beaches looked as beautiful as ever and were filled with tan bodies exercising, jogging, riding bikes, working out on the outdoor gym, or just laying on the beach. Our motorcade ended at the Crianças de São Martinho orphanage, where Mr. M put on a special magic show for the kids. The faces of the kids lit up when Mr. M took to the stage. They were a great audience. I was touched when at the end of the show, a girl who couldn't have been more than 12 years of age asked Mr. M if he could do a magic trick and make her pregnant belly disappear. He told her that the gift of life she carried in her belly is the most important gift there is and that the children are the future of Brazil. Later that night, we made an appearance at Zuxa's house for her daughter Sasha's birthday party. It was like going to one of the kingdoms in Disneyland. The compound even has a McDonald's in the backyard. She lives far from Copacabana and Ipanema. We drove for at least 45 minutes until we arrived at her gates. The fans went nuts when Mr. M exited from the limousine. I was thinking to myself, Elvis, the Beatles, Michael Jackson generate this kind of hysteria and I am in the middle of it making sure his security is taken care of. We took a golf cart ride up a windy road to her house. It was amazing. The place was rocking with lights, music, dancing. Celebrities were everywhere. When we entered her house to wait for her to meet Mr. M, we were introduced to Simone, one of my favorite singers. At the party were Tiazina, Carla Perez, Ivette Sangalo, Ronaldinho and Valeria Valença Ms. Globalisa. Despite the vast number of high-profile celebrities, Mr. M was the star of the party. Everyone wanted his autograph or the opportunity to take a photo with him. Mr. M never said no to anyone. He was always willing to sign that last autograph, to take an extra photo. It didn't matter if you were the president of a company or the maid in the hotel. While in Rio we stayed at the Intercontinental Hotel in São Conrado. Within walking distance from the luxurious hotel was the massive favela shanty town known as Racina. Over 1 million people live there. I read that McDonald's is planning to build a restaurant there. That was one of the biggest changes I noticed in my 5 years away from Brazil. McDonald's restaurants are everywhere. I read in a Brazilian newspaper that after the government, McDonald's is the second largest employer in Brazil, with a workforce of over 33,000 people. Our shows in Rio were at the Metropolitan in Barra. It is an enormous facility, seating over 5,000. Mr. M's 9 shows were all sellouts. One of the things I will always remember about the Metropolitan is the kindness and the professionalism of its staff. From Peppy, who runs it, to Yolanda, who did our sewing and ironing. She was a miracle worker. The whole staff was great. Being associated with a magic show was a unique experience for me. I did whatever I could to make the show work, from repairing props to offering suggestions on costumes and lights. I am pleased to say that some of my ideas were used in the show. The hours were long, sometimes 14 to 16 hours when you include rehearsals, shows and after parties. But there was never a dull moment. Cordially, Steve Spencer, Bayano, promoter, San Diego, Brazil Carnaval.